Week number 7 is upon us. We're on down to Pensacola, Florida, virtually at least, here on iRacing.com in week number 7 official racing for Advanced Legends. Welcome to EPI Short Track Mondays. Continuing on this season, we started things off with dirt late models for the first 4 weeks of 2023 season number 3 throughout the summer of this year. Now we're on down to Florida, where it cannot get any hotter for these drivers. We're in the morning hours in sim. We'll bring you on into the sim here in just one moment. Here's a look. This is what we have to expect this evening at the virtual Pensacola, Florida. Let's take a look, of course, at the track info and, well, the track map here at Five Flags Speedway. It's a rather roundy round, if you will. A very round oval in particular, very short straightaways, very long sweeping corners, and for a Legends car, that means the car has to be on edge because it has to make all of its speed in the corners. It's different from a lot of bull rings like the Charlotte Motor Speedway, Atlanta Motor Speedway, where these cars race very often. In fact, throughout the week, throughout the summer, where there's long straightaways, tighter corners, you can make a lot of speed up in corner exit. You've got to make the speed through the entire corner here at Five Flags Speedway, and it really does present a large challenge to these drivers. Here's a look at our point standings coming into this evening. After 6 weeks of racing, Daniel Folds has a stranglehold on Dustin Momberquette and everybody else in these standings, but Blake Massengill added a win to his total last week at the National Motorsports Park in this very SOF split, so he has got some speed going his way, some momentum surely for car number 10. Jeremy Swanson looking great as well. Joel Smith, of course, in the top 5. A lot of great drivers worth talking about, and one driver in particular stands out to me, actually two. Ryan Coulthau, and that might be a little bit wrong, but out of New Jersey, Ryan K, if you will, has really started to impress. A Wall Stadium driver, runs weekly at Wall Stadium in his real Legend car, and comes out on the sim with EPI and has really been impressing lately, driving into the top 10 in standings, and he's 1 point ahead of Tyler Payne coming into this evening. I think he'll be a whole lot more points ahead of a lot of these drivers after this week of racing here at Five Flags Speedway. Austin Cook, also the other driver. I recently, in fact, as recently as last night, got back into racing, specifically Legends, Advanced Legends, went to Southern National Motorsports Park, wanted to see what it was like for myself, and thanks to EPI, I picked up some speed, got racing with guys like Austin Cook in some late splits last night, and got to see what he's made of. I think he's got something this week as well. Coming out of Georgia with 69 races under his belt, the second most. Of course, the two drivers I just highlighted have been racing the most out of this top 10 and winning a whole bunch of races as well. Of course, it's a lot about the track, the points, where these drivers sit coming into this evening. Let's take a look at the schedule for this season. We have just 2 races remaining on our Legend. There we go. Advanced Legend. I was trying to combine a couple of words there, I guess. Our Advanced Legend Cup portion of the season is nearly over. Martinsville, Southern National, Five Flags, and Hickory making up this portion of racing for us. Then it's on to late model stock cars, beginning with USA, I think. Then on to Thompson. I think Hickory is in there somewhere. A lot of really cool races coming up for the late model stocks. First up, Five Flags this evening, Hickory next week. Then it's on to the late models. You can see we are in the morning hours. It is rather bright and sunny out on the racetrack. Weather conditions 69.9 degrees in the air and a bit warmer on the track. Only 73 degrees though, not too warm, not too hot at all for these guys. Certainly a lot of speed to be had out on the racetrack. Cars are fired, drivers are warming up. Let's take a look at our starting grid this evening for round number 7, the SOF split. Michael Folds on pole. That is a big-time qualifying effort from car number 8, as Daniel Folds will line up from the 2nd spot. Starting from 3rd position, how about last week's, one of last week's top 3 drivers in that SOF race, Kyle Turzak. A lot of hope around this driver. We'll see what car 51 can do this evening alongside Jeremy Swanson on the grid, who's also been very, very fast lately. Finally, you find Blake Massengill and Dustin Momberquette, 2 of the longer names in our top 10 in the standings, both beginning with M. Massengill and Momberquette, 2 really solid Legend car drivers. Of course, Momberquette, a driving force over at Race EPI, powered by the shop, as they have combined forces, put their heads together, and gone racing faster than ever here in 2023 season number 3. Monberquette was leading the standings for a long time, only recently giving it up after a couple of missed rounds. Starting 7th this evening, you'll find DJ Powell in car number 16 by iRating. Riley Fiddler Hasback will start from the 8th spot. Starting 9th and 10th, Jesse Henderson and Matthew Boniface back there in car 95. Starting 11th, it's Eric Steele in car number 10 by iRating. Austin Cook, yes, just drove into the top 10 in standings. He will start from the 12th spot in this top split event. Starting from the 13th position, how about Tom Scully in car number 12? Ryan Coulthal, I'm going to hope that's at least somewhat accurate, will roll off from the 14th spot in his Wall Stadium number 35. Tristan Swanson, another Swanson in the field, rolls off from the 15th position. Evan Roy, however, rolls off 16th. And finally, Angel Ortega brings up the rear of our field, starting this evening's race from 17th spot. Race details, bottom left of your screen, a 30-lap feature. Cautions, no fast repair, open setup, and one green-white checkered available to these drivers. Thanks for joining us here at Pit Stop TV. We do appreciate it, as always, as we get ready to go racing for 30 laps with Legend Cars. A bit of a shorter race for these guys this season. Green flag is out in round number 7. Crashing, Monberquette turned around, lap 1. And that is severely going to change things. Massengill involved, last week's SOF winner, along with a former points leader this season from EPI in the shop. Dustin Monberquette turned around in turns 1 and 2. One of the worst ways that these two drivers could have begun this race, that's for sure. Let's get a look back at what happened to these two in turns 1 and 2. How about from the blimp? That might show us a few things. Monberquette there 3 wide, and Swanson just kind of came down and pinched the 116 down into Blake Massengill. Can't fault anything that Monberquette was doing there on the start. Can't fault anything Massengill was doing. Here's a look back at it. On board with Dustin Monberquette, driver out of Canada. Swanson there on the outside, fell back middle of the corner and just came down and squeezed Monberquette down the track, and thus we have our first caution of the evening. Now, of course, to you guys out in the chat, out in viewing land, if you will, I don't think it'll be any surprise that we have seen a very large focus all of a sudden for drivers focusing on the opening couple of laps. Really hope we can see some more emphasis on long runs in these Legend Car races. A lot of drivers have been griping about driver standard this, driver standard that, and I've seen it lately. And it's interesting to see it from the driver's seat and see it a little bit differently than from the broadcast perspective. Because when you get down in some of those lower splits, you see some more drivers kind of pushing a little bit harder. But I think everybody could get up to vying for these top split races and the top split wins if everybody was just a little bit more patient and ran their races. That was simply a soapbox as we are on to lap 5 under caution here of 30. A slow start to this one, of course, with a caution lap number 1. It's hard to be any faster. Any slower, I suppose, rather. But it's an all folds front row headed down the back stretch here in virtual Pensacola, USA. Recently site to a Southern Super Series race where William Byron was disqualified. Hopefully no DQs in this one. Green flag comes back out, lap 5 complete. Crashing. Oh my goodness. And something tells me Wall Stadium's own Coulthal will not be going very far into this race. That is one hellacious ride he's just taken. Well. On board with the New Jersey native racing at Wall Stadium. The good news is Ryan can take the drive on down to Pete and Elda's and grab some pizza early, because that was a messy restart. 95 rather, Boniface involved. It is only so fitting that we wad up half the field after mentioning we would like to see some green flag racing, long runs and such. I don't even know where this starts. Somewhere. Oh boy, the 28 got turned by the 17. Was that maybe Austin Cook that turned him? I actually think it was. One more look back, we're running out of time here in caution, but Austin Cook there in the middle tips the 28 car. Not sure who that was that he turned around, but that was at least how we caused this accident as our leaders get ready to restart this race. Michael Folds getting doubled up. Daniel Folds on the outside. Jeremy Swanson third. Kyle Turzak fourth. And a lot of cars in the pit lane with damage. Again, we won't be seeing Kuthau back on the racetrack, unfortunately. Tom Scully also in the pit lane, albeit on the lead lap, taking some repairs. Matthew Boniface, surprisingly, no pit lane trip there for car 95, as Michael Folds will lead us back. The green flag, maybe not this time. I thought we were going green there, but it looks like one more lap of caution. iRacing.com pace car caution lights, safety lights, not yet extinguished. Now they are off and signaling to these drivers 1 lap to green. Now Swanson, I will say, he has nailed a couple of restarts apparently, jumping to the inside now of Kyle Turzak. We'll see if he can keep that up. And that's important. These restarts, especially when you get a couple of them back-to-back like that, super, super important, of course, to nail getting up through the gears, try and get into a lower gear, get that acceleration off the jump. Michael Folds has got it. Green flag back out, 20 laps to go. A clean start through turns 1 and 2. Your top 7 packed up just like that. Here comes Swanson. A big restart again. Folds gets out of the way and opens up the bottom side to Jeremy Swanson. But Daniel Folds is coming on through, and we have got a crash again. Oh my goodness. Blake Massengill can't escape it. Turned around on the front stretch. Jeremy Swanson did briefly go purple. Good to see you, Brendan Kennedy, out in the chat. Just wish we had a little more green flag racing. Something happens here. Struggling to find who that was that initially got turned. Regardless, you see the Massengill machine wadded up in the outside wall very quickly. Was that maybe DJ Powell? It was. DJ Powell getting turned around early in this race. Still very early in this race. Let's take a look. From a tower perspective, Kyle Turzak on the outside. DJ Powell underneath, got loose, got tipped by Monburquette ever so slightly, and they all just kind of chain reaction, wadded it up. Rogers just a small driver error, and you know, if we go to the onboard, I'm sure we can see why. We can find the right camera. This will show it a little bit. The gyro, you can see the, he just got loose. And it's really tough when you start getting knocked back like that, knocked around all over the place. Really tough to hang on once you get loose once and start sliding the rear of this car. But, of course, as you guys will know, you drivers out in the chat, you have to run the car really, really free, especially here at Five Flags. It's like a super speedway for you legend cars. Gotta run it really, really free and right on the edge, and oh my goodness, a couple of cars just piling in, nowhere to go. Tough breaks all throughout the field. iRacing.com safety car lights stay on, but we do have a new race leader, that being Jeremy Swanson out front, with Ryan Kuhn Motorsports on board that number 91, which is surprising to me considering the lack of other RKM names. Not necessarily indicative of their speed over at RKM this season, but less of a focus, it seems, on legend car racing this time around. And I'm sure more of a focus over there on the late models where Ryan Kuhn tears it up, but it's interesting how the battle has shifted to EPI and to Zeems, mostly between those two organizations. And I will say, of course, getting back into some racing myself last night, literally last night at Southern National, I ran one race on the iRacing fixed setup. I ran one race on the EPI setup. I was a whole lot faster in that second race, I'll tell you what. Green flag coming up. Half the race down, half the race to go. 14 laps remaining at not Southern National Motorsports Park. That was last week. Five Flag Speedway, half the race to go. Down the backstretch, clean start through 1 and 2. Here comes Daniel Folds, though, on Swanson. Pass almost complete. There it is. Daniel Folds back out front once more. First time out front here at Five Flag Speedway. Runs the fastest lap of the race there. One car way up high. Fiddler Hadsback, it looks like, losing spots. 3 wide down into turn 3. 1 way underneath, that's the double O. Angel Ortega picking up tons of speed down there on the inside line. Goes on by Fiddler Hadsback into turn number 1. Also has Tristan Swanson, Matthew Boniface there. 3 wide, Boniface down low. Racing side by side with Hadsback and with Swanson. Hadsback now falls in line. Jeremy Swanson falling back to the hands maybe of Kyle Terzak potentially as well. Dustin Marquette, who, remember, he was involved in the lap 1 melee between himself and Blake Massengill after Swanson came down the racetrack ever so slightly, and now Eric Steele goes down to the inside. This of Austin Cook. 10 laps to go this time by. They're clicking them off now. Once we're green flag racing, it goes by quick. Austin Cook loses 1 spot, slides into 7th now behind Eric Steele, and tries to come back down the inside, high above turn 3 there. Love that perspective here at Five Flags. And Cook gets loose, hangs on. Up to Dustin Monburquette. Started 6th, of course, as low as 17th in this race. Only 2 cars out of the race, those being Blake Massengill, now 1 lap down, literally just parked it. And Ryan Kuthlau. I'm sure that's a little bit off, Kuthlau. Regardless, Dustin Monburquette showing that race EPI speed off, purple that time around, chasing down Kyle Terzak, getting closer and closer to car 51, reeling that machine in, purple again from Dustin Monburquette, lap 23 of 30. The fastest laps on the track right now, completed by Dustin Monburquette running 4th. What can he do if we get a caution and he has a chance to get back after these guys? It seems like the EPI set this week must have that long run advantage. The Zeem set must have that short run advantage ever so slightly. Such as short track racing. On board with Terzak as Monburquette approaches. Based on times alone, I'd say it's Monburquette's position to lose, but, or I guess pass to lose, if you will, considering he has to make the pass first. But of course, Terzak can do a whole lot here to defend, and really, if you can just hang on to the outside line at most tracks, usually you can hang on to a spot. Here at Five Flags, I'd say the bottom might be preferential, and sure enough, here comes Monburquette. Goes straight on by this 51 car, rather. The 116's making the pass, and Monburquette makes quick work of Kyle Terzak getting on by for the 3rd position, but Terzak not done yet. He's still got some tools in the bag, fights back to the inside, crossover to turn number 1. 2.5 laps to go for these drivers. It was 3 at the flag stand. Eric Steele still racing with Austin Cook. That fight far from done. But Michael Folds now closing in on this fight for 3rd place. 3rd, 4th, and 5th in line. Monburquette down the racetrack. And moving Terzak up the hill. He said, nope, I don't feel like being blocked today, and I can't really blame him. That's how Legend Car Racing goes, though. And out of the inside is Michael Folds. Monburquette gets in deep, trying to get back to Terzak. White flag in the air. It's Folds and Swanson out front. They've gotten close once again. This fight for 3rd not going anywhere. All while Jeremy Swanson has one more chance to dig here at Daniel Folds, and it's not going to happen. In turns 3 and 4, a win once again for car number 09. Terzak will hang on to 3rd. Folds gets 4th away from Monburquette. The fastest car on the track, I think, was beaten by a really, really solid defense from Kyle Terzak, admittedly. The fastest car on track, the 116. But what a defense and offense as well from Terzak in the 51, as here comes your race winner down the pit lane. 14 laps led, took the race lead away. Late in that one, parks in a victory lane, deservedly so. Of course, we'll take a look back at our unofficial race results. A fun one here at Five Flags Speedway. Certainly did not disappoint. Take a look at the results here on screen. Daniel Folds with the race win. Jeremy Swanson second, going third place. You'll find car number 6 by iRating, 51 on the track. That, of course, is Kyle Turzak. Solid run for him. Michael Folds, a surprise fourth after where he was mid part of that run. He just closed right back up in Mombercat and Turzak and took that spot away. Mombercat, I think, kind of beat himself. Unfortunate for Dustin. He needed those points, and he'll need those points going on the rest of the season. Hopefully he can grab a couple of wins this week, maybe a couple next week at Hickory, and get back on track to Daniel Folds, who takes this very important SOF win. Austin Cook, a very solid performance there. Fourth by iRating coming into this race. A couple of spots behind it, but I think right where he should be, 6th position or so, as he starts to bring the fight to those guys ahead. Riley Fiddler has back there in the 7th spot. Angel Ortega 8th. Matthew Boniface 9th. And DJ Powell completes your top 10 this evening at Five Flags Speedway. Jesse Henderson there at 11th. Tom Scully 12th. A lot of guys back here. Couldn't really focus on them. A shorter race this evening, I will say. It's not even 8:30 yet. We're done racing. As you see, Roy, Swanson, Steele, Massagill, and Kulthau. Might already be to Pete Neldas. Who knows? We've, of course, got some drivers waiting to talk to us. First up, of course, Daniel Folds in Victory Lane at Five Flags Speedway. We've gotten used to this in Legends. What about Legend cars at a high-speed track like this makes you so comfortable, Daniel? Oh, I did it again. I've done that a few times, and I need to stop muting myself in Discord. I really got to forget about that button. But Daniel, I'm curious, what about Legend cars at a high-speed track like this? What about this combo makes you feel so confident and go out there and drive past these guys for a win?
Yeah, you know, we got a really stout piece under us. We made a lot of laps here coming up to tonight. When the Legends went here a few seasons ago for the first time, I made a ton of laps trying to find some speed, and you know, just basing everything off of that. I love the track. I run good here in just about everything, so it's nice to seal the win here.
Absolutely. Always nice to go to Victory Lane, and certainly doing so this evening with nearly half the race led. You had to drive through a couple of spots to get to it, though. Had to race, certainly, there with Jeremy Swanson and some others. Even Michael Folds grabbing some laps led. What was that battle like?
It was pretty good. Everybody kept it clean up front. Wish we had some more green flag laps at the beginning, but that's how some of these races go for sure. But Michael did good. He led some laps there. And it was a good battle with Swanson.
And of course, it is, I think, an ongoing thing where drivers get in these Legend car races, and it's a lower level car. And I'm curious as to your perspective as a driver. Of course, I got back in the driver's seat myself actually last night, running some races at Southern National, just to see what it was like from your guys' perspective. And there's definitely some truth to the fact that in general, it's like a go for lap 1. Why do you have to wait with these cars and let the race come to you?
Man, these cars are really finicky. They might be a lower level series, but with the right setup underneath of you, they can be a handful to drive. It definitely takes some time to get used to them for sure. They're not the easiest thing in the world. And the fact that we got so many guys that are this competitive week in and week out says a lot for the series.
Well, Daniel, it's a P1 for you this evening over a really strong Jeremy Swanson. Congratulations. We'll see if you grab a few more this week in car number 09. I'm sure you will.
Appreciate it, guy.
Daniel Folds, a strong showing here in the SOF race. Kyle Turzak, also very quick, going third place this evening. And Kyle, backing up a strong run for you. Back-to-back third places in SOF races, but it was not easy. Mombercat put the bumper to you. What happened there?
Yeah, just hard racing. You know, these electric cars, you kind of have to race pretty hard. Yeah, he tried for a crossover there, and I just didn't want to let him get back to the inside there. Just overall racing, and I can see why he kind of moved me up right there. But it's racing, you know. Not one of my tracks, I'll tell you that. This is probably one of my lower end of tracks that I like. But next week I should be pretty good at, I think Hickory it is. So I'm pretty good there. So get ready for that. And yeah.
I went on a bit of a soapbox tonight, Kyle, and I'm kind of trying to grab some driver perspective because I put myself back in the driver's seat, getting in some Legends races last night, thanks to EPI for the speed, but I'm curious because there were a lot of cautions. It was more so a parade in my first race, second race, a little more green flag racing. What's it like from you as a driver? And you don't have to go too crazy and talk down on anybody, but does it seem like there's more yellows than there should be? Does it seem like there's more of an emphasis on just going from lap 1 and sending it into the corner?
Yeah. I think what some people, at least what we do, is just we just just ride, and there might be a caution or two, but usually you should not be like really aggressive at the beginning. At least that's how it is real life. But it's iRacing. So yeah, I mean, I wish we could get a little bit more green flag wraps just to see what our beautiful Zeeb shop setup can do. But yeah.
I bring it up because we all like green flag racing. It was a slow start here tonight, a couple of big incidents, but hey, that is racing at the end of the day. Kyle, you go P3. How about the rest of the season as well? Hickory next up. You mentioned a little bit about it. It's a very different racetrack, but also very bumpy, a similar shape, just a little bit shorter.
Yeah, I definitely like Hickory. I'm pretty good there in the stock, so I think hopefully that carry those in the legend car. I know these things, they like to be bouncy with bumpy bumps, so I bet Dan can definitely get us a perfect setup. If well, not perfect, but at least a really good one that can get us in victory lane, which is he always has been for the last few seasons. So yeah, we just get ready for that, and maybe even run some late models with Myrtle Beach and all that.
Well, hey, maybe we'll see it tomorrow night as well. Some late models potentially right back here at Five Flags. D-Line, who knows? But Kyle, congratulations. P3 again. Hopefully we see a bit more of you here in the coming weeks.
Yep, thank you.
Solid run for Kyle Terzak this evening from the third spot. Of course, following a couple of his teammates out front, Daniel Folds. I mean, they're strong. Of course, I will go to bat now firsthand for EPI and the speed over at Elite Performance Industries, especially in these legend cars and paint-built legends. These setups are the real deal. I'm going to be honest with you. They make me look like I can drive and all that good stuff. But I will say, Daniel Folds, Blake Massengill, Kyle Terzak, as strong as any Legends team I've seen. And of course, that Legends team would probably be PBL, Paint Built Legends. Joel Smith, Tyler Payne, Dustin Mumbercat on their best days. So really strong racing out there. It is just kind of that come and go. And I think season to season as well. It seems like one season, maybe Joel puts a little more into Legends, or he puts a little more into another car. And of course, right now, you have Joel Smith running Summer Shootout, not able to focus on these Legend cars here on iRacing because he's doing it in the real world. And I think that's a whole big part of it. Of course, who knows? We don't have McCollum in these Legend cars anymore. It'd be interesting to see him out here with these guys from the shop. Of course, he's running Summer Shootout this year as well, and doing really, really well, by the way. Alex McCullum, if you end up watching this or hearing about this, congratulations to you. A really solid season so far from what I've seen in the results, at least, down at Charlotte Motor Speedway. I'm going to be interested to see where things go for the fall season. And I don't know if we cover Legends in Season 4, but it would be interesting to see how the driver, I guess, pedigree kind of tips back, if it changes at all. But I will say, Daniel Folds, top of his game potentially. We'll see if it swings back the way of Dustin Mumbercat and everybody else later this season or potentially later this year. Still plenty of racing to go. We mentioned earlier, of course, we go to Hickory Motor Speedway next week. July 31st, we have our final Legend Car broadcast of this season that is currently planned anyways. While these drivers continue on to Myrtle Beach, USA, Lanier, and South Boston. Meanwhile, of course, we've got late model racing coming your way. And first up, we'll be going to USA International Speedway as well. Although that will be a week prior to these Legend cars doing it. We'll go to USA on August 7th. We'll go to Thompson on August 14th, and then we go on down to Hickory Motor Speedway August 21st, and finally close things out at Five Flags. So a lot of these same racetracks as we go to, once again, those are USA, Thompson, Hickory, and Five Flags to close things out in late model stocks on these short track Mondays. A big shout out, of course, as always, to Elite Performance Industries having us here for these short track Mondays on Monday evenings at 8, 8:15, 8:30 Eastern. It has been a treat so far to get the season going. Now into the back half, late models approaching. We're excited for what is to come the rest of this season, but here is what's to come the rest of this week. Tuesday evening, tomorrow night, we come right back here to Five Flags Speedway, a Five Flags doubleheader this week, as the D-Line Racing League, brought to you by Elevated Performance, comes right back here to this half mile tomorrow evening for their regular program. Then Sunday, it's out to Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course in Lexington, Ohio, for super late models and late model stocks on track July 30th for the Noble Can-Am Series. Before Monday, we come right back here on a Monday, not here, but right back to you guys on a Monday evening with Legend Cars at Hickory Motor Speedway, of course. Home track right down the road to me, and many others that end up in these Legend Cars week in, week out. Maybe one of these weeks we'll get Zach Murders back in one of these races, one of these broadcasts with us. I know he loves Hickory Motor Speedway. Sure would be a fun one. Thanks for watching this evening. A big thank you to our partners here at Pit Stop TV, always doing so much for us. Whiplash Media, SimCams, ATVO, CC's Business, and of course on these Mondays, add Elite Performance Industries to that category. A big thank you to those who get it done behind the scenes in audio, ATVO, Whiplash Media, SimCams, OBS, and iRacing.com, all doing so much for us and helping us get to and from the virtual track each and every week. We will see you next time. Tomorrow evening, it's the D-Line Racing League right back here at Five Flags. You definitely want to be there.